Hello everyone, my name is Janae Oliver and today I'll be presenting Empowering Leadership and Effective Collaboration in Geographically Dispersed Teams on behalf of my colleagues Adbul Alrawili, Manny Archie, and Lena Lazendorf. As an example of geographically dispersed teams, I'd like to introduce you to my colleagues and the geographic areas we work from. We have Lena on the west side, Manny in South Bay, Adbul in Riverside, and here I am in South Central Los Angeles. Our discussion includes a summary of the article by Hill and Barton, but we've also embedded a few possible examples and applications for the theoretical model and study. The purpose of this study is to understand how globalization, outsourcing, and strategic partnering of organizations presents new challenges. In order to stay competitive, organizations need to adapt. They should have interest in building geographically dispersed teams in order to succeed in the global market. For team leaders, this means that new skills and strategies are needed in order to lead these teams successfully. This study examines the correlation of empowering leadership and outcomes. The theoretical framework of Hill and Barton's research combines the distributed leadership theory developed in 2002 and empowering leadership theory developed in 2000. In the distributed leadership theory, virtual team leaders have the following role. They create self-managing teams with ease of collaboration, create explicit structures that facilitate a team's adaptability to dynamic environments, determine best computer-mediated communication, build unique team culture by facilitating mutual respect, and of course trust between team members. They give clear direction on critical issues, and lastly, develop contingency plans and define roles of team members. Empowering leadership theory has three components. First, it distributes power amongst its team members. Second, there's more autonomy. And finally, more control over their work and environment. To illustrate the theory, Hill and Barton created a two-tiered theoretical model that shows the combination of these two theories. At the first level, you have empowering team leadership, which improves situational judgment of team members, team member collaboration, and individual team member performance. At a second level, you have geographic dispersion. This intersects between empowering team leadership and team collaboration, which leads to improvement in overall team performance. There are four hypotheses investigated in this study. The first is that empowering leadership moderates a positive relationship between virtual situational judgment, or VTSJ, and that's on the left, and a team member's virtual collaboration on the right, such that this relationship is stronger when empowering leadership is at its highest level. So let's take a look at an example. Imagine we're forming a presidential campaign team to reach various constituencies across the United States. There may be several campaign managers deployed in critical states where we need to communicate the candidate's platform, increase voter turnout, and persuade undecided voters. The leaders will need to be empowered in order to make decisions, or VTSJ, in response to, for example, a changing political climate, emerging issues, and address any external threats to the candidate's reputation. The more empowered these campaign managers are, the more VTSJ and collaboration there will be. Using this same example of the campaign, the second hypothesis takes empowering leadership a step further to say that it will also moderate a positive indirect effect of these team members' VTSJ on team member performance through virtual collaboration, which in fact is stronger at higher levels of empowering leadership. For hypothesis number 3, team member geographic dispersion moderates a positive relationship between empowering team leadership on the left and a team member's virtual collaboration, which you see on the right, such that this relationship is stronger when team geographic dispersion is high. So let's look at an example in global philanthropy, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They are more geographically dispersed with offices all around the globe. They partner with a number of NGOs to address global health issues, development, growth and opportunity, education, and policy and advocacy. Since these teams are widely geographically dispersed, you can imagine that if staff members in these areas are empowered, these individuals would likely depend on each other to share best practices and models that help them to fulfill their overall mission, which is to help people lead healthy, productive lives. These same teams, based on the fourth hypothesis, would also have greater team member performance. Why, you ask? Well, that's a great question. Hill and Barton hypothesized that team member geographic dispersion moderates a positive indirect effect of empowering leadership on team member performance, and all of this is accomplished through team member virtual collaboration. Furthermore, this indirect relationship is stronger as teams are more geographically dispersed. Here's another look at the hypothesis on an X and Y axis. For the last example, let's take a look at oil and gas industry. For example, if ExxonMobil needed new global corporate health and safety procedures, and to socialize these changes, they want to create an e-learning training program. This is a multinational company, so virtual teams are necessary. They'd be tasked with developing corporate and country-specific guidelines and procedures. To achieve the goal, teams are faced with varying laws for each country, language and cultural differences, and hours of operation. To ensure success, the theoretical model can be utilized, giving each team member autonomy, power, responsibilities, roles, and authority. In turn, they will be empowered to make decisions and give input. Due to highly global dispersion of these virtual teams, performance of ExxonMobil's virtual teams are in fact improved. Now let's take a look at the methodology. The hypotheses that were tested were using data that was collected through online surveys. The average team size was 9.27 and teams were geographically dispersed. Likert scales were used with a range from 1 to 7, where 1 meant does not describe team leader at all, and 7 meant describes team leader extremely well. For the test, the teams had to tackle complex tasks that require interdependent work. The team members completed 2 surveys. The first is a focal team member survey to measure teamwork situational judgment. 2 weeks later, they took an empowering leadership survey to measure how much the team leader practiced empowering leadership. The overall response rate was 78%. In terms of the results, there was in fact a positive and significant relationship between VTSJ and team member virtual collaboration, which manifested when empowering team leadership was high. There was also a significant correlation between team member performance on VTSJ and team member virtual collaboration. As predicted, the relationship between empowering leadership and team virtual collaboration was more positive at high levels of team geographic dispersion. The relationship at low levels of team geographic dispersion, however, was not significant. So let's look at the theoretical implication. Hill and Barton discussed these theoretical implications, and as you can see, highly geographic dispersed teams have a greater need for empowering leadership. This improves individual member performance, which also improves collaboration between virtual team members. Ultimately, this leads to improving virtual team performance overall. Since empowering leadership adds immense value to teams who are in geographically dispersed situations, when organizations rely on globalization and outsourcing, the study suggests that they consider up-and-coming team members before leading geographically dispersed teams. They should also consider VTSJ in conjunction with dispersed team member selection process. They should also provide training in order to improve team member knowledge. Research shows that case studies that involve common challenges with geographically dispersed teams have been most helpful. When it comes to launching geographically dispersed teams, it's also advised to set expectations early regarding behavior and other norms in advance. Let's take a look at the limitations and alternatives. First, this is a cross-sectional study, which means you're only observing a population at a specific point in time. You can't demonstrate a causal relationship, and you can't look at changes over time. There could also be bias in the methodology because this is a convenience sample and because participants are self-reporting. For greater significance, you need a larger sample size. And finally, studying a single organization limits the variability and decreases external validity. There are, however, opportunities for future research. We might want to gain a better understanding of the types of experiences that help develop a team member's VTSJ. We would want to consider other factors that create division, such as functional and cultural diversity, that may negatively impact collaboration. We might also want to know, does a process focus influence the dynamics within a team? In conclusion, the findings of this study produce outcomes at two levels, individual and team level. Here are our references, and we want to thank you for your time in listening to our presentation. We hope that you gained additional knowledge to inform how you might also empower leaders within your own organization if they're geographically dispersed and utilize virtual platforms to execute on projects or process-oriented activities.